The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to join us at any time, you can just go to all our past shows at www.xzbn.net. And we're coming to you tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and of course, the X Zone Broadcast Network and Simul TV, Channel 54. A few things before we get to our first guest tonight. Gentlemen, we've had the pleasure of having on the show before, Keith Anthony Blanchard. Two of the stories that we're following very closely here. One of them is the story that Dr. John Brandenburg broke here on the X Zone a little while ago about a nuclear war. Well, evidence of a nuclear war on Mars has been discovered and sent back to Earth, and actually the samples that were taken from Mars showed the element of xenon, and this element is only found after a nuclear explosion. So that's one story we're following very closely. John will be joining me later on next week. And another one is that, well, would you believe me, Exonation, if I told you that there is proof out there that what is going on in the world today when it comes to weather changes has nothing to do with climate change? That this is a false flag operation, that the real reason why we're having all this strange weather and what people claim to be climate change is because the shifting of the Earth's axis from tilting to the left, or to the west, I should say, going to the east. And if this keeps on going on, the equator will be just south of Chicago. NASA has tracked the tilt factor caused by two places, India and China. India is pumping out all of the underground water to how can I best put this? Take care of their crops. In 2 years, they withdraws. Let me see. Every 2 years, they take out of the earth water amounts equaling twice the size of Lake Erie. That's pretty big. And China, well, they just keep on adding concrete and concrete and concrete and all these mega structures, as well as their population. So these are two stories that we are following very closely, and we'll report back to you as soon as the story and the research has been concluded. All right. Hope everybody's having a great 2023. And I just hope that this is a great year for everybody and that we're all able to get past the COVID and the rest of the problems that we've all been having because of the last 3 years. My guest this hour is Keith Anthony Blanchard, and let's bring Keith on. And Keith, welcome back to the X Zone. Always great having you, my friend. How are things with you?
Beautiful. I love the way you said Blanchard. My origin from South Louisiana. They came from Canada, which was the Acadians, Canadians, moving to South Louisiana all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Where I'm from, they became Acadians, so we're Cajuns. But I heard you mention, Rob, about the nuclear war on Mars.
Right.
And I wrote myself a quick note so I wouldn't forget. I've been hanging out, if you will, with a God-realized man from India for the last quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And he did mention that a nuke will be launched on Earth. I mean, this man is full-blown lit. He knows everything that anybody could possibly ever know. He said, but our technology, and he was in America when he said this, so I think it'll be launched this way, but that we have the technology, that we're going to use that technology to simply launch it back. It's not a prophecy that any of us want to hear, but there's always soul, group, karma involved. And I also heard you mention about climate change. And I understand that many people don't believe in the climate change propaganda, the thing that's the envelope that's being pushed. I totally get it. But they're using something, they are using something to give us a bitter taste in our mouth so we can ignore the fact that the earth is being violated.
Yeah.
It really is being violated. Plastics and we can
oh my God, plastics, big problem. Big problem.
And Sadhguru says in 25 whatever I'm picking a number, 25 whatever years, by the year whatever, the soil is no longer going to be usable. Yeah. So this is all making the belly of our mother rumble, shaking the ground beneath our feet.
I look at us as the cancer on the skin of Mother Earth. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So for the listeners who haven't had the opportunity of listening to you or seeing you here on the show before, tell us a little bit about yourself, Keith.
I am a lover of humanity. I'm a lover of life. I'm a lover of this world and everything that is possibly beautiful that we can attain to as a species. That is who I am. I can give a whole bunch of accolades, and I've done my work, best-selling books, movies, and all that stuff. And it's all fun and good, and I love the accolades because it truly is a well-deserved pat on the back that helps me to like myself a little more so I can keep moving forward to do the work I know I'm here to do. And that work is to do whatever I can to whatever degree at any level of depth to be of service. That is my life.
How did you get started? What's the story behind the man?
Pain is an excellent catalyst. It's an excellent catalyst for change.
It certainly is.
Dated a girl for 10 years. She had enough of my bull and said, see ya. She was my food, my shelter, my transportation. I'm an aspiring musician, right? So you lean on the girlfriend. She was my sex. She was all these things. And when she said bye-bye, everything dropped like castles in the air. And I had nothing. But earlier in my life, I wanted to be an altar boy. I wanted to be a priest. It started with being an altar boy. And when the girl and the music came along as a guitar player, God went in the closet. And that's when my fun trouble really began. So I began to play music always. It's my passion in life. But when she left, I pulled God back out of the closet, went into it full swing. I jumped into the hunt with everything I have. And as I look back that you asked that question, I've seen miracles, if you will, to use a word, can be used. But for me, these were truly miracles. By the level of depth I wanted to achieve for myself, I grew up with a sister who had an affliction. She was my greatest teacher of compassion. And all this combined into a beautiful, delicious sandwich just brought me to this point in my life of just wanting to help. I know the lessons. My heart has hurt. My heart is equally bursted wide open. And so I find myself at the garden gate, if I will use a term, to bliss. And I know that the quickest way a person, group, and the world can raise its vibration to the level of the kingdom, if we will, that already exists is to be of service, help. If you open the door for people already, fantastic. When you open the door next time, fall a little deeper and mean it a little deeper. These are levels of changing the world. So who am I? I'm just like everybody else, but I am bellowing up the fire in my heart and I want it to consume me.
So I guess we can say if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
There's nothing else.
That's it. Tell us about the Center of Light Foundation.
Rob, I think when you and I spoke some years ago, I just changed the name of Yana'o Center of Light. Yana'o, we're not getting to all that, but just the Center of Light. Yana'o is a long version of something that we can maybe talk about. Yanava, my logo, my glyphs, if you will. But I changed the name of what I do to just Center of Light. And a few years ago, I met this holy man from India by the name of Bhagavan Sri 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 Viswamji Visyogi Maharaj. in person. And we're friends, if I can say that without being blasphemic, has been giving me glimpses of my future. And I began to do this work surrounding this title and around the being a disciple of Swamiji under his tutelage and guidance. He told me things, but as a true master would, he's not going to give you all of it. He's going to give you pieces because he wants you to figure it out. You have to go inside and figure it in for yourself. And so I began to create this dialogue on a level beyond language. And then when I would see him, he would validate these things. And out of nowhere, I was beseeching Swamiji's guidance. And I, on my Facebook feed, dropped this post. Do you want to start a Roku channel? I started playing with following this rabbit into the hole. I got an LLC, Center of Light Foundation. And then I sat in this chair. I love this chair, and this chair loves me. And for 8 at least hours a day, I would work on getting this Roku channel up and going with endless amounts of presentations and videos and interviews, like with you as such, to create this network all about 4 things. My slogan for Center of Light Foundation has 3 components: fire, clarity, and action. Fire would be the heart. When clear, the light of God can move through the human being. And when we take action, we change the world. So in other words, this is the fire. Mm-hmm. This would be the heart. It would be create. This, when it's clear and no longer crowded and shrouded by the monkey in the mind, perfectly clear, then that very will of God can move through the mind unencumbered. And then we can take clear action. But there are 4 components. You have to feed people. Without food, no one can live. Mm-hmm. People need to have shelter after being fed so they can be safe and cared for. And then the third component would be without proper, and we're speaking a lot about homeless people or anyone, but without proper education, nothing happens. And the fourth component would be in that proper education, you could teach people to find their own passion, their own worth, and their own purpose. Therefore, the Center of Light Foundation machine turns within itself and it becomes an automatic pilot and forever expands. It becomes a living conscious being, actually.
All right, Keith, stand by. You and I have to take our first break. Exo Nation, Keith, Anthony Blanchard is our guest. Center of Light Foundation.org is the website. And Keith and I will be back on the other side as the Exxon continues right here from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind Coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind Coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Hewson Street South. Beautiful Mind Coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.
And we're back. Keith Anthony Blanchard is our guest. His website is centeroflightfoundation.org. Keith, what happened to you on the morning of June of 1996 when you heard the voice of God?
Well, Pandora's box opened, that's for sure.
I guess it would. What happened?
A few nights before,
Mm-hmm.
I was on a Ouija board. Most people, there's a stigma surrounding the Ouija board, and I understand it because people go into the idea of playing with an Ouija board. And so because this is such a subconscious typewriter, it's a doorway, basically. What can come through that gate can be positive and negative. It's just a gate. But what you bring to the table. And I knew this. And a friend of mine enticed me to do it. Not because I was afraid. I just didn't have any interest. And I realized that I did have a fear. And I said, screw that. Let's go get one. So we did. And we've been doing this for months. And then one day, a few days before, the Ouija board said, and I always knew to be aware, present, and conscious and not tolerate any crap. I just knew it. I would surround the board with light and all this wonderful stuff. And I never once, not one single time did I ever have a bad experience other than the alien coming out of my chest, like I never had a bad experience, never. And the Ouija board said something's coming. So a few nights later, I went to sleep and I was awakened by a voice early in the morning that said, "Good morning, Keith. It's time for you to wake up." So I set myself up out of sleep position and look around the house. And there's no one there, thinking a friend of mine came knock on the door and let himself in because I didn't hear him when I was being lazy. I didn't know what was happening. So I sat up and there's nobody there. And then I said to myself, wow, wonderful, strange, beautiful dream voice. So I laid back on the bed with the intentions to go back to sleep. And the voice said, "Keith, I asked you to wake up." And I knew the jig was being had. There was no time for fear whatsoever. I was thrown back violently, lovingly on the bed, my eyes closed, and I fell into an absolute conscious experience where time was just completely non-existent. The voice begins to instruct me, "Keith, go sit on the sofa and press your tape recorder. Let your mouth move." And of course, I'm explaining this linearly. This wasn't a linear thing at all. Let your mouth move. And I'm saying, what am I going to speak about? I said, "Keith, just do this." I did. And out came volumes of the most far in, far out material I've ever heard, at least to that point in my life. And it took me 8 years to really do the work. I didn't want to recite all that was coming to me as a parrot. I wanted to live the principles so that I knew they would be something solid and very, not good for myself, but for other people as the spiritual teacher. That voice has now made itself known to me in the physical way. All those years ago, it was the beginning, the consummation of a beautiful, divine, cosmic, extraterrestrial included relationship. Years later, I met Satya Sai Baba on his ashram because he came to me in a dream and said, "Come to India." Would love to. He's across the river, standing 1,000 feet away, and I can hear him telepathically. "I would love to," he says. And I'm going into musician mode. Where will I get the money? How will I get there? I've never done such a deal. Keith, stop all that nonsense. I got it. So I wake up the next morning from this experience, more lucid than you and I are in this moment. When it happened, I think I'm going to India. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a lady I never met. She happens to be a flight attendant. Keith, we have a mutual friend. Word got to me. You want to go to India to see a holy man? I'm a flight attendant. Can I give you a first class round trip ticket? So I go to India to see this holy man. Long story short, after experiencing Sai Baba many, many times for many, many years in Dreamscape and on his ashram, where I've seen the most amazing miracles that thousands of people will never see in a lifetime, he came to me in a sleep state of consciousness, fully blown aware again. Let's say 8 months ago, give or take. And I'm so present, Rob, I could feel his physical touch. And he says, and as soon as before he even did anything, I'm like, I've been asking for something, which is the birth of this foundation, the Center of Light Foundation, to help the needy in the world, however you are needy. If you're homeless, I will feed you. I will shelter you. Do you see that wall over there? That wall needs to be fixed and painted. So it gives people purpose and all this. And I said, I've been asking something for you. And he says, you can have it all. The asking of him was, I want some money. I want a lot of money. I'm here to do the work, and I want a lot of money. He says, you can have it all. Some months later, I interviewed the other holy man, the one that I'm in physical proximity with often.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, I said, Swamiji, and he's already telling me the answer, but I'm not hearing it. I just felt the need that I had to ask it to be heard. And he's mentioned to me what Sathya Sai Baba told me. He says, Keith, don't worry about money. I'm going to make you very happy. I'm going to make you very wealthy. In that moment, I decided to leave being a full-time musician, which was one of the loves of my life. But I've done it 30 plus years. I've wrung the rag dry. The nectar is out. So I know that in the very near future, my plans, Rob, truly, is to live lavishly. And I say that in all the right ways. I deserve to live what I've been doing for many, many years in a good way. A nice home, 2-3 bedroom house, a studio, so I can do my media, hopefully a terrestrial radio station. I love what you do. And change things for many, many people. This is my dream, my goal, my vision, my mission, and I have no doubt it will come into fruition.
Why you, Keith?
Because I'm special, just like you, just like everybody. I'm claiming what I deserve. And what I deserve is to raise my vibration by helping other people. Any form of service, any form, be it a waitress, be it Rob McConnell, trying to bring awareness to the masses. This is all ways that we can pitch in and raise the classes of people. I'm not special above anyone, but I'm special unto myself. And I think that when we realize that about ourselves, we simply elevate into the garden. And you, I, and everybody else is going to say, hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
When you have these experiences, you were talking about miracles that you've witnessed. What type of miracles have you witnessed, Keith?
Excuse me.
Were you all right?
Speaking about when I was on Sai Baba's ashram, one, the fact that I had a dream that 2 weeks later manifested through a ticket, 3 months later manifested into where I'm pinching myself on the ashram, and I always got first row, which out of a crowd of 35,000+ on a normal day, 250,000 on a festival day. Wow. To see this little 5'1" man walk through the West Gate in Kuwait Hall, women on one side, men on the other. Why is it that way? It's to create less distraction. To watch this little man walk into this temple and create objects out of thin air, change the weather spontaneously. Same things to me. There's no way he can know. On the ashram, every day, all day long. But the fact I am able to share with you and your beautiful audience that I'm a living testimony of being supported, which we all are supported by the divine, but it's a matter of being clear-minded and open-hearted and ready to take that action that I mentioned earlier that sort of singles a person out to be favored by the divine, if you will, because conscious or not, we all get what we want. So my path is choosing consciousness. And in choosing that consciousness, I've seen these effortless things happen in my life and to other people, even though it may look like tragedy that happens to other people. I see such things as miraculous. And in looking for the miraculous, it simply appears everywhere.
Is it just a matter of opening ourselves up to what is out there, and instead of just being that part of who we have been programmed to be? Is it getting back to basics and saying, I'm an open book. Come, write in my book. Share your story with me, and I can share mine with you. And together we'll have a new book and a new chapter in each other's lives.
That's really poetic. You know, our life is a sentence that at the end is the end, which is a period,
Right.
literally a grammatical period. And so, like you said, Rob, we unfold as consciousness itself turns within itself and writes these new chapters that looks like Rob McConnell and Keith Anthony Blanchard and John and Jill Doe.
Right.
And so it's that book that you talked about has no writing on the page. It's the spoken word. We are the word. And when we come together, we write a new chapter in hindsight 2020 future history. How it all went down that Rob and Keith one night and many other people got together and had this spiritual powwow of hanging out in this session that we call, the X Zone Center of Light Foundation. And we're the tribe, we're the nation. So we have to open the mind. The mind is open, but is it open to the correct things? The mind just gets out and is shrouded.
Can the mind be open when the heart is closed?
No.
So would it not be open the heart in order to open the mind?
The heart is always open.
Okay.
But we can't see that the heart is always open. Again, this is so analogous for me, and it's very powerful. If this is the mind and this is the heart,
right,
that's trying to move through the mind, clearly, the heart is always open. It's the mind that shutters it. So we get exactly what we want or don't want, but ultimately we want because we're choosing not to make the choice. The heart is always open, but the mind will choke it. But if the heart is not open, it's dead from the get-go.
Right.
When I say the heart is open and then I turn around and it sounds like contrast, the heart is not open. When the heart is not open, it's a play of words. It's semantics to help us understand that, we have to peel away the stuff.
Right. Stand by, Keith. We've got to take our break for the news at the bottom of the hour. Exonation. Keith Anthony Blanchard is our very special guest this hour. Always a delight talking to you, Keith.
Blessings.
His website, centeroflightfoundation.org. And Keith and I will be back. Whatever you do, don't go away. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Keith Blanchard is my guest. His website, centeroflightfoundation.org. Keith, what is it like to see others you work with after they have applied your teachings to their lives?
Imagine anyone, if you will, the greatest feeling you've ever had times 1,000, times Google, times infinity. It's a charge. It's an ego ride, to be honest, because the ego does serve a purpose. Without the ego, you cannot drive your car because you'd be pure spirit. But there's something called the divine ego. But it is a charge, and it's supposed to be a charge. You don't want to kill your ego. You can't kill your ego. It'll get louder. The monkey will start screaming that he wants his banana. So you give the monkey his banana. When you explain to him and integrate the idea that I know what you want. I want the same things. But if you be quiet for a little while, I know how to get them because you can't. Let me be the spirit and do what I need to do. And I promise you'll be the first one I tell when I accomplish these things. So I use this as signposts and validation for my path, that anything that happens from something I've spawned, it's a trophy, it's an accolade. And we know how trophies are, Rob McConnell or whoever you are, when you do something you love and you get first place, you get acknowledged.
Sure.
So I use my ego consciously to do the whittling of the spiritual apple that I do, but it's how I get things done.
Based on all your spiritual experiences, Keith, where are we headed as the world sits today, without opening up the mind, without writing that book that you and I were talking about in the previous segment? Where are we headed, and how, if it's down a road that has no return, how can we change everything, Keith? Is there hope?
Oh, there is absolute hope. In fact, it's already done. Now, whether anyone chooses to be in the plane of existence or the parallel of the earth that it's already done and it's already won is a different story entirely. What we are all approaching, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, when I did those sessions all those years ago with the Ouija board, like it or not, you have no choice. Whoever you are, you have no choice. You are going to be, which you are now, sitting down at an Ouija board. You're sitting at a Ouija board because what's coming through the gate is everything. All your love and all you hate. Everything. It's all coming in. And so it requires one to understand that first and foremost before you can ever plant yourself so solid that you become unshakable like Peter the Rock. Otherwise, you will be rocked across your clock. Everything you ever want, conscious or not, is coming through that gate. The importance of anything to understand is to get out of the fight. Fighting with politics, standing against terrorism, standing against racism. Well, Keith, shouldn't I stand against these things? You can't really win by standing against something because it implies a fight, a fighting of things. So instead of being an anti-something, be a pro-something. It changes the whole game entirely. So all the things, be it political, yeah, but Keith, my side is right. Go tell that to the person on the other side. They're going to tell you something different. So who is actually right, 6 or 9? They're both telling us the same thing. There's investigations on this side because of files being hidden, both sides. Who do you believe? How do you make truth of, where do you find the truth in this circus? If we think that any political party, even if it's yours, God bless you because yours is the best one. If we think that any political party is going to save us, ourselves, and the world, we're sadly mistaken. There is something else that lies deep within the core of every being that is awakening. And it does not look like the political system whatsoever.
What is it?
You, me, we, standing together, uniting for the truth, which is we are children of the living light, eternal beings. And I don't want to fall into that cliche idea of the words that I'm using, but I mean this on a soul level. When we begin to bring this to the fore, we don't necessarily glance. We don't give credence to anything that is just old hat, yesterday's newspaper. So the potential of what you thought or even cannot possibly think hell could actually be, if there was such a thing, is coming through the gate. Beyond what we can imagine heaven could ever be is coming through the gate. So they're both, one is lifting and one is sinking. And depending on which one you are, what side of the teeter-totter, you're either going to lift or you're going to drift. You can get so pulled into the current like a swimming pool. When we were kids, we'd make what do you call that? A whirlpool. You spin around. You're in the center. You're safe. There's no violence happening. You're in the calm of the storm, the eye of the storm, the eye. You step out of that closer into the event horizon, you can get so lost that everything you believe stand for as right, wrong, moral, or ethical, your world become emotional, crashing down on you, which creates all sorts of dynamics, and God knows on what kind of spiritual levels. So basically, this is it. Sink or swim.
Who is God?
We all are. We are fragments of the whole. So if we're looking at a mirror, this thing is so heavy. If we're looking at a mirror, God is the fire. Right now, I can see my reflection in this crystal ball. I can.
Right.
And there's only one. If I shatter this on the ground on concrete, I can pick up each individual piece and see the same reflection. And even if I take all these pieces and put them as close as I possibly can, I still can't see it as one. We are all that, and that's all there is.
Is that where the first hint of who we are is derived from in the Bible, when God said, "Let us create man in our image, in our likeness"? That in itself, and to the way I interpret it, says that each and every one of us have the God particle within us.
The holes and bigs, absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. God created us in his image, but we got a little too cocky and we created him in ours.
I like that.
And yes, and as in the Bible, it also says, I am in my Father, so you have a circle. I am in my Father, so you have a circle within a circle. So Jesus is in his Father. The Father's in me, so now the Father's in Jesus, and I am in you. So we have all these circles, and in it is all that which is in us, which creates worlds and universes. Seek ye the kingdom of God within. Do not say low here or low there. So what happened along the way? Well, the Council of Nicaea.
Oh, yeah.
One, the King James Version of the Bible was perverted, altered, authorized by King James himself, who lived a life totally against fundamental Christian standards that is owned by the British Crown. And so, there are many things that went awry along the way, but also the nonsense that we've learned through our family lineage. Breaking family lineage curse can be tough.
Keith, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exonation, Keith, Anthony Blanchard is our special guest. centeroflightfoundation.org. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Send me your emails, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And for all the broadcast shows that we have on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And to watch the X-Zone television channel exclusively on Simul TV, visit their website at www.simultv.com and check us out. We're on channel 54, 724, 365. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind coffee. Beautiful Mind coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Hewson Street South. Beautiful Mind coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.
And welcome back. Keith Anthony Blanchard is our guest, Center of Light Foundation.org. First of all, my friend, before we say so long, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. We've got about 8 minutes left in this segment, my producer was just telling me. So let's talk about your encounters with the ETs. Tell us about your first encounter and what was it like?
First encounter was 8 or 9 years old, living in South Louisiana, young boy, raised Catholic. All the Catholic beliefs, the dogma, the devil, big dogs in the backyard, whatever. I would find myself outside of my house, whatever time in the morning, 2:30, 3 o'clock. This went on for quite a few years. I'd say 2, 3 at the max. But the first time it happened, Rob, when I came to a state of consciousness, I found myself standing in the backyard as this young boy. You know, I'm 5'4" now. So when I was a kid, I was a runt. And I'm finding myself looking up and didn't know why. I had no fear, didn't feel violated, none of that. And so being so small in a backyard with all these boogeymen, dogs, demons, whatever a kid believes at that age with this mindset, I had no fear. But I needed to get back into my house to go back to sleep. It was just it felt natural, normal, as if it's supposed to. I just didn't understand why. So to get back into my bedroom, because I'm so short, I looked around the house and I found a cinder block, which I propped up and used as a stepping tool to lunge myself through the window to go to sleep. And I never thought anything about it. Didn't remember a squat. Didn't know anything. Fast forward to the age of 33, I'm in my apartment watching a program about aliens on the Discovery Channel. And it all came flooding back. This was a catalyst that opened me up to bring the avatars in. Satya Sai Baba, Swamsi Viswayogi from India, my friend or my guru, which I'm a disciple of, who is full-blown lit. 9th incarnation on the earth as God. He was the first being to walk on the earth as God, if you will. Lord Datta, the Godhead, if you will. And then I met in 1998 an alien-human hybrid by the name of Nucleus 8. He is the head of security in this quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy. I befriended this person for 8 years. Excuse me. For 4.5 years. And this being, Nucleus 8, his birth name is Marshal Habib. His mother was in Gray. His father was an Egyptian king. He is head of security for this quadrant of the galaxy. So as we started this friendship, he began to do some pretty amazing things through me, to me, in front of me, that I simply could no longer ignore what I was scared to accept the truth that this is what's actually happening. There's a weird feeling, obviously for anyone. But when it does happen, there's something cosmic that begins to embed itself into you, that you don't just believe it anymore. You know it.
Mhm.
And it opens up the freedom, the liberation that we're truly a cosmic family. But I've had many of these throughout the years, with the Clarions, the Pleiadians, and so forth, and Draconians. And you just got, when you're up against these draconian negative types, we can call them demons if you like, if that word suits your model. You just got to stand in your fire.
So what do they want? There's a lot of speculation out there about
Me, you, us. They want they try to get your soul, but it's impossible, and they know it. They're trying to convince us, that they can get our soul, because our soul itself is the first. If God is the whole hand,
right?
And Christ is the knuckle, and this is Rob, this is Keith, this is your grandmother, your brother, your friend, so forth. They're trying to get your soul, at least convince you. They can't get your soul. Your soul is God, and it belongs to God alone. They're trying to convince us of that so they can get your mind. And then what they really want present day is your children. They don't care about Rob and Keith. They want your children. And
For what reason?
Self-gain, self-control, population control, all those horrible things that we can dream up. So the gift in the game is not to change the world, really, but in trying to change and participating in changing the world, we simply ascend to the level that the world is actually existent and change itself. But they want to keep us sort of like the Matrix movie. Yeah.
Okay. So if there would they be considered as bad ETs? And if there are bad ETs, why don't the good ETs come here and fight them off and, come to defend us?
Absolutely. Fantastic question. The same reason angels, Jesus, God in any form doesn't come until we open the door. As you and I talked about before, they won't come. They can come. They are here always, but it's until we take the initiative to use our free will to say, come in and change this dynamic through me, then they can only step in. That's the whole gift of being free. It's the whole America model, the whole America idea, the whole spiritual idea.
Keith, as always, whenever you're with me, time goes by so fast, and I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. What are your final thoughts? What would you like to share tonight with the X-Zone Nation?
I would like to first share, if I may, with your permission, to promote my Roku channel, which I've worked diligently. You can go to your Roku on your TV and search channels and look up Center of Light Foundation or hashtag Center of Light, all one word. Please do give me a thumbs up if you like what I do. What I would like to offer is where we are is the pinnacle of creation itself, grace itself, the beauty of your future, your present possibility. What is that? That everything that you can have, you will have. Service is of the highest calling. It raises your vibration. It changes the world. Please, you can choose to not buy into the nonsense, that which makes no sense, nor will ever. And we do that when we endeavor to find ourselves. The being that you're looking at when you look in the mirror is the truth. And when we take that to the hilt, we become the living word. There is nothing else. Claim your power, change the world, change yourself, simply love people for no other reason.
Keith, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. And I look forward to the next time you and I meet again here in the X-Zone. Until then, be well, be safe, and keep up the great work, Keith. So long, my friend. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour has been Keith Anthony Blanchard. His website is centeroflightfoundation.org. That's it for this hour. I'll be back on the other side of the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, if you'd like to listen to past shows of the X Zone and many of the other shows that we have on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. We'll be back after this short break. Don't go away.